the Director of National Intelligence and Great American Patriot, Tulsi Gabbard. Director Gabbard, great to see you. Thank you for taking the time. And let me say on behalf of the audience, thank you for digging and getting to the bottom of what stole so much of the first Trump presidency, the first Trump term, I should say, and for having the guts and the courage to dig deep. Declassifying that House report was so important. And so, Director Gabbard, can you just take a moment here and remind the audience of everything that you have now made public and that you have learned over the past last week? Because it's just been a whirlwind of news. So please take a moment just to take a step back and tell the audience what we have learned, please.
Sure, Charlie. Thank you so much. And thanks for your coverage of this really important disclosure that has ramifications that are very far-reaching and that speak to the integrity of our democratic republic and nothing short of that. I'll try to be brief because we've released a lot of information over the last week, starting with last week, Friday, releasing a whistleblower's report, emails, communications, copies of a president's daily brief, one that was drafted but pulled hours before it was to be released and never published, as well as one that was actually published. We released yesterday, as you mentioned, the House Intelligence Committee Majority Staff Oversight Report that investigated a document that President Obama ordered the intelligence community to put together, the January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, that basically came to the conclusion that Putin, Russia, had tried to influence and impact the outcome of the election in favor of Donald Trump. The real headline here is that the months leading up to the 2016 election, remember this was Donald Trump running against Hillary Clinton, the intelligence community consistently assessed over and over again that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. And that's a really important point here, because in early December, after Donald Trump was elected, after he defeated Hillary Clinton in that historic election, President Obama called together a meeting of his National Security Council leadership. This was people like CIA Director John Brennan, then Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, Susan Rice, Andy McCabe, and many others on his senior cabinet national security team. What came out from that meeting was ultimately, and this is all documented, direction from President Obama to his team to create an intelligence community assessment that detailed how Moscow meddled in the U.S. election in favor of Donald Trump. The key point here is not if Moscow meddled, it was how. And this is where a lot of the mainstream media right now, who are reporting and repeating the Russia hoax lie over and over again for years, are refusing to address this key point. Is the document that the intelligence community created that was published in January of 2017 contradicted the other assessments that the intelligence community provided in the months leading up to the election, including the days leading after the election, by stating very clearly and with high confidence, which is a big deal coming from the intelligence community, that Putin intervened in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump get elected. What we released yesterday in the House Intelligence Oversight Staff Majority Report was a very detailed investigation into that January 2017 assessment that, again, CIA Director John Brennan, DNI James Clapper at the time, assessed with high confidence the conclusions that were driven in that report. What was revealed yesterday was that they created this knowing that it was false. They used intelligence and sources that were substandard, did not meet basic intelligence community tradecraft analytics standards, and used things that they knew were discredited, like the Steele dossier. They knew it was discredited. They knew it was a politically manufactured document. James Clapper and John Brennan decided to use it anyway. So here's the bottom line up front. President Obama ordered a manufactured intelligence assessment in order to ultimately enact what would be a years-long coup against Donald Trump, using this document that, again, did not reflect the intelligence community's overall assessments leading up to the election. And it was used as a foundation to be able to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's election and everything that came after.
Thank you for that summary. And so I want to now just emphasize one point of this. So the entire Russia narrative was on faulty, shoddy intelligence. Is that also included in what some of the skeptics or some of the critics would say? Because they say, well, Bob Mueller found in 2019 all these different reports of Russia trying to influence the election. But we're not contesting, though, at least from my understanding, that Russia was trying to sow discord or chaos. I think that's well received and well accepted. What is the contention here is that there is no evidence, in fact, there's evidence to the contrary, that Russia was doing any of it to help Donald Trump. And even beyond that, Brennan went on to say that Adam Schiff went on to say it, Brennan alluded to it, that Trump did it in collusion with the Russian government. Can you speak to this? Because in some ways the media is being very crafty. So, for example, the media would say, well, there's a 2017 intelligence community assessment supported by bipartisan Senate intelligence that says that Russia did interfere with the election. And some people would say that, well, there was a 2019 report that says Russia did interfere with the election. You're not debating that. You're not contending that. You're saying, but they were not interfering to help Trump. Can you please elaborate on that and push back on some of the criticism?
Yeah, Charlie, thanks. That is the important point here. And I think it should also be of note that this is where the critics of what we revealed are going to. This is where President Obama's team and Senator Warner and other members of Congress are going to that exact point. They're saying, hey, look, nothing to see here. Everybody knows and agrees that Russia tried to meddle in the 2016 election. I don't disagree with that statement. Here's the point of distinction. Is that there is no credible intelligence that points to Russia or Putin meddling in the 2016 election in order to try to get Donald Trump elected, period. And I think one of the most significant pieces of evidence that was revealed in that report we released yesterday is the fact that Russia claimed to have very, very damaging information, high-level DNC emails relating specifically to Hillary Clinton's physical and mental health, and DNC leaders questioning whether or not, if elected, she would even be capable of carrying out the duties of the presidency. Russia had this. If they wanted to swing the election for Donald Trump, they would have released it in September, October of 2016 at a pivotal time to swing momentum into Donald Trump's direction and damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. They did not do that deliberately. They understood that Hillary Clinton would likely be the inevitable president of the United States. They didn't think Trump could win, like a lot of other people. And so they were withholding this damaging information about Hillary Clinton and planning to release it in the days or weeks leading up to her expected inauguration, in order to once again sow chaos within the United States, to draw into question the stability of our country and what kind of leadership would be in place. This cuts to the core of the problem with the January 2017 President Obama ordered manufactured intelligence document. They willfully omitted this intelligence that existed because it didn't support the false narrative they intentionally built once again, which is the intelligence community says with high confidence that Putin aspired to and helped get Donald Trump elected in 2016.
And just on top of that, the information that Russia had on Hillary Clinton, she was on tranquilizers. Could you imagine that as an October surprise? Oh, by the way, the woman that couldn't get into her van on the 9/11 memorial, remember that? There was that video that went viral. She's also on tranquilizers. She was asking the State Department for asking people for donations in return of her State Department policy, and Russia didn't use any of it. So Director Gabbard, I want to now talk about one thing that has gone very viral, and I think it would be very helpful for our audience to hear from you on this. And again, what happened here is so dishonest, underhanded, and we are cheering you on, and we have your back 100%. You've used the phrase "a treasonous conspiracy." Those are fighting words. Those are big words, and I could tell you, the people in this audience, they know that and they agree with that. But can you make the case? Can you present the argument to the best ability you can with unclassified information and public information? What makes you believe that this reaches that sort of threshold?
When we look at our democratic republic, Charlie, our system is built on the foundation of the American people casting their votes for who they want to be in office, to be our president and commander in chief. In this system, there is to be a peaceful transition of power. What we saw play out here was President Trump was elected by the American people in 2016, shocking most people in the United States, and apparently even Russia and Putin didn't think that he would win. Instead of accepting that this is the will of the people, what we saw is President Obama convening his national security team and concocting this contrived false narrative through the production of this intelligence community assessment in January 2017 with the specific intent of subverting the will of the American people and trying to delegitimize President Trump's election, and therefore everything that he had been charged to do by the American people over the next 4 years. So, yes, this is a treasonous conspiracy that subverts the will of the American people, because you look at the action. They manufactured a hoax. They manufactured these lies, published it as though it were true, propagated this through the media to the American people. And then what happened next? The Mueller investigation, years-long Mueller investigation was launched. You had 2 impeachments coming from Congress. You had a raid on President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago by the FBI. You had smears and attacks and investigations, not only against President Trump, but against his family, his senior officials within his administration. You even saw the geopolitical impacts of this, where a whole sanctions package was passed against Russia by President Obama, specifically
Correct.
because of the thing that they claimed Russia did, but they actually didn't do in this case. This was a lie that was concocted by President Obama and his senior national security officials. And this January 2017 intelligence community assessment is that foundation for everything that came after. And I just want to point out again, I was in the White House press briefing room yesterday, and reporters saying, well, do you believe this or do you believe that? This is not about Tulsi Gabbard's beliefs or opinions or even allegations. Read the intelligence, read the evidence, read the emails from DNI Clapper's executive assistant to leaders within the intelligence community that says, per the president's directive, and then going on and listing the taskings for this intelligence community assessment. I doubt many of those reporters have actually read the nearly 200 pages themselves like you have, because anyone who is a little bit objective who would read that would draw the same view that you and I have, that the truth is very real and it's irrefutable. President Obama led this treasonous conspiracy with the help of a lot of folks in his national security cabinet and in the intelligence community.
Director Gabbard, we have to let you go. I just want to say we're cheering you on in the audience because we remember how nasty, how divisive, how unnecessary all that Russia stuff was. And now our involvement in a kinetic hot war against Russia could be probably traced back to Russiagate. Keep fighting. Stay brave. Director Gabbard, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for all you do, Charlie. Thanks, everybody.